Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with Stan Lee creating DC. We kicked off this series with a wrongfully imprisoned teen turned wrestler/vigilante. Now we see another of DC's trinity as we take a look at Just Imagine Stan Lee creating Wonder Woman, alongside Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and Alex Sinclair. Let's see if this comic makes us want to turn the page or turn our heads. The cover features this new iteration standing with a shield and energy staff, I'm gonna say, in front of an ancient city, a monster, a couple people, and space, all separated from the same energy flowing from her hair? Maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. She's decked out in gold armor and what looks like incandescent pants. There! I've finally done it! I've achieved what I set out to do when I started this show! Saying the phrase incandescent pants. Where do I go from here? We begin in ages past, with the narration bearing more gravitas than in the previous story. A dramatic telling of Manco Capac, offspring of the sun god born from Lake Titicaca, and given a gold staff to ward off evil and create the city of Cuzco. I mean, that's how narration puts it, that the sun god basically ordered his kid into existence, but later references in the story make it seem as though Manco was the sun god. I don't know if this is just a technical error, or if Manco became the new sun god, or what. Anyway, after an untold amount of time, and somehow gaining numerous followers, he eventually hit the legendary sweet spot, literally, because this time when he plunged the golden staff into the earth, it sank completely and created the destined city. Cut to present day, where now Cuzco is nothing but ruins at the mercy of a businessman seeking to find lost treasure. You know, typical investment strategy. A woman named Maria Mendoza exposits the plight of the once prominent city and the farmers driven off their land for someone's greed. That's when she's caught by Steve Trevor, an American archaeologist working the dig site set up by the aforementioned plunderer Armando Guitez. Though on this page they do leave out the R by accident. Steve's trying to see to it that all the Incan treasures are bought by museums, and to reduce the damage being done. They hear footsteps and make way to his jeep, as we see an ethereal and monstrous limb crush an artifact. I guess the ancient spirits still lingering around don't much care for their own stuff. Maybe it's the spirit of that guy that made it, but really didn't like his own handiwork, and has been waiting thousands of years to smash it. The smitten Steve fails to get a breakfast date as Maria is taken to the courthouse to see her father, a local judge, and pleads with why he's just letting Guitez get away with all this desecration. Papa Mendoza decides to elaborate on the whole story of something that happened years ago, as if he's about to tell a story in full after years of just stopping halfway through or something. The judge was once a poor farmer who was stopped by bandits, and in the ensuing fight his wife was killed, leaving him alone with their newborn child. The killers fled just as Policia arrived, who wanted cash to find the perps, but since the farmer was cleaned out, they just took his truck and divvied the spoils. How do you divvy up a vehicle? Did they just add it to their own cars, or what? Anyway, Mr. Mendoza buried his wife and swore never to be victimized again, even going so far as to make a pact with a devil like Guitez. And guess who just so happens to be there, hitting on the repulsed Maria? Just as he internally swears to have her for himself, he walks in on a case the judge is overseeing, that of a farmer saying a monster is destroying their land, and Guitez prevents the police from giving assistance. Armando interrupts, saying he's sympathetic and feels their pain, which actually seems to convince the farmer, unless he's putting up a front out of fear. Either way, the Kingpin doesn't like being badmouthed, so he orders the police to beat the dude up, right in the courtroom. One man flees so he can send a message to El Presidente, but when the guards spot him, he decides to pull a gun and use it on himself. What the blue blazes, man? How are you so certain you were gonna die just because you ran off? You could have survived a beating and then got your message out later. Man, Stan really got extreme with this one. On the other hand, Guitez has a scar over his eye, lusts after a woman disgusted by him, and now has the judge taken away for suggesting people deserve hearings. So maybe that poor dude wasn't just being paranoid.
I think Gitez's only true regret is that his mustache is too itsy-bitsy to twirl.
Maria catches up with Steve again, saying her dad has been captured, and he barely hesitates before handing over the keys and letting her drive them to Armando's compound, where he takes all his victims. They're stopped by a guard who doesn't fall for Maria trying to pass as a concubine for the dirtbag of the house. Weird thing here, they have the same close-up panel of the guard several times behind this panel of Maria flirting. It strikes me as an odd choice, since all you can really make out is his faint but obviously evil smile. Anyway, Trevor shows his Gitez Industries badge, and that grants them access. When they stop, Maria straight up decks him, figuring he's just another shill, not waiting for elaboration, as she goes to look for her dad. She finds him and several other citizens rounded up, one shot at random by Gitez because he's sick of protests and complaints.
Have you tried deleting your Twitter account? That's the route Dan Didio took.
When Judge Mendoza threatens to tell the governor about all this, Gitez shoots him too. A devastated Maria emerges from hiding, though the villain doesn't seem overly surprised by her presence, but does take the opportunity to hit on her again and try forcing marriage, even as she cradles her dead father. Because evil. Fortunately, she elbows him in the face and, bonus points, knees him in the crotch before escaping into the mansion.
Yes, hit him in the crotch!
She's abruptly stopped by Trevor, who asks that she trust him as he covers her mouth and leads her into a secret passage to evade the guards. Wow, trust is a real hot commodity around here. Leading her to the excavation site, he tells her that Gitez wanted to drive people off their land in order to possess runes of absolute power. Having already sent the two most powerful runes to L.A., Steve figures his boss might be onto him, a suspicion that becomes solidified, as many are, when Gitez shoots him. Though he doesn't seem to care that the rune he was holding was shattered. Maybe he thought it was more pressing to threaten Maria again. The destroyed relic has released an evil spirit, previously imprisoned by Manco Capac, and Armando is confident that it'll be obedient to him, since he's the one who freed it.
Well, technically, the guy you shot dropped the relic, so he'd be my master. Then again, if he's dying and you're the reason he dropped it... Hold on a second, I need to get evil spirit resources on this. Expect paperwork.
Joking aside, it does look like Gitez shot the relic into pieces, so I guess he is still technically playing by the evil demon rules. As the fatally wounded Trevor points Maria to the top of the temple, Gitez invites the demon to inhabit him and give him the power and evil it possesses. Yeah, he's actually looking for the evil too. But apparently housing monstrous entities are like Pringles. Once you pop, you just can't stop, because he breaks another rune to absorb even more power. Maria's climb is interrupted by a new spirit who just goes right past her, or through her in this case, as the ground gives way, so that he may challenge an evil greater than its own.
Dan Didio?
Maria has fallen into a pit, briefly losing consciousness as Gitez grapples with the new demon, eventually winning and absorbing its power. He becomes bulkier and decides to smash up L.A. for the runes sent there, while young Miss Mendoza follows disembodied voices calling her forth, to the suddenly appearing golden staff. She takes hold of it, fulfilling a prophecy, because there's a prophecy now, and as a beam of light bursts through the excavation, Gitez figures it's destructive and ignores it. But it is not the blaze of destruction. It is the gleaming aura of rebirth, of redemptive power unleashed at last.
Rebirth, huh? So you'll make a lot of promises to make continuity repairs, but not really do as much as you should, then bring back Wally West or gain some goodwill with readers just to assassinate his character later?
Snarkiness aside, Maria is now decked out in Stan Lee-style Wonder Woman garb, with Steve apparently floating close by. Gitez boards his private plane, wanting only the pilot because he's far too evil and powerful to want a drink or a little bag of peanuts with his in-flight movie. Landing outside the excavation site, Maria reverts back to normal as Steve gives his last words, saying that she is the sun goddess, chosen protectress of Earth against its many evils, a destiny set in motion when the staff bury itself in Cuzco. Maria weeps, not wanting this power in the wake of so much death, and lamenting having not had time to mourn her father. She figures she's just gone insane, but an ethereal voice says it's just the opposite. Hers is the clearest mind of all.
If the mysterious voices in your head that have suddenly appeared after repeated traumatic experiences can't be trusted, who can?
Maria was chosen because of her courage and compassion, and is told to again wield the staff. She does so, accepting her fate, sealing the bargain, and again transforming.
And now, the training.
Well, it's less training than it is brief instruction. The staff will fly her anywhere she wants, so long as she thinks of a speed and destination, and will appear invisible to anyone but her. She can gently land by letting go, and with a thought, she'll become Maria Mendoza again, but with a golden bracelet acting as the staff's disguise.
Because even the gear used by superheroes needs secret identities too.
Guitez's plane is nearing a Los Angeles airport when the pilot makes the mistake of checking up on his boss and seeing the new monstrous form he's taken. So the villain figures, kill him, crash the plane, because why not? The explosion is seen by some people on Mulholland Drive, one of whom is writer-editor of the National Exposer, Mike Willard, getting a look at Guitez with his night vision binocular camera. Which, yeah, is a thing, I checked, and I was kind of surprised. At first, thinking it's the filming of a monster movie, he then sees Wonder Woman zoom by, vowing to subdue the beast. Guitez is no longer human, but I wonder, am I?
Oh, so that's why she's called Wonder Woman in this universe. A nagging and persistent existential crisis going on in her head. That's nice.
Also, another little typo. Her saying she'll never know if she can stop the villain till she tries should be an apostrophe T-I and one L. Come on, editors, get on the ball. No garishly costumed female can stop me.
Now, a female in a business suit, a lab coat, heck, even just wearing a loose-fitting t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants, then I'd be in trouble. But gold armor? That's a bit lavish to fight for the cause of good, isn't it?
When her foe throws a boulder at her, Double W instinctively raises her shield, splitting into several threads that spin into an even larger shield before becoming a cable to ensnare the monster. This leads her to question if she's just the latest in a long line of goddesses, just as Guitez realizes he can use her tether to throw her around some. She takes to the sky, but he starts climbing. That, however, just played right into her plan of stomping his face for the innocents he killed, and impaling him on a skyscraper for her dad. That's one heck of a posthumous Father's Day gift. With the spirits at their weakest, she calls upon the Incan gods, and that somehow destroys Armonsto for good. See what I did there with the names? Okay, anyway, as the journalist figures he scooped the 8th wonder of the world, Wonder Woman herself is feeling pretty tuckered out, and lands for a power nap in human mode. Fortunately, no one bothers her, as the next morning she wakes up and decides, instead of flying home, Maria will stay in LA, where the weather is nice and the people are oh so glamorous.
Superficiality, the best way to choose where ya wanna live.
She knows English, so the language barrier won't be much of a problem, and figures she'll need a good reason to resume her goddess form. After seeing a copy of the day's National Exposer, she goes to interview as Willard's assistant. Sure, he's been through a bunch that were apparently terrible, but hey, Maria is both hot and literate, so she's hired, her lack of passport or work visa notwithstanding. Mark wants her help in proving that Wonder Woman truly exists, which may earn him a Pulitzer, and the heroine a total loss of privacy or personal time, which is her doing because, she chose to stop a magical demon man from terrorizing the city. Basically his words, not mine. The two head out, likely to begin their search, and the longer it takes, the longer Mark can ogle Maria. But that's okay, because even though she'll make sure he doesn't find her alter ego, she thinks he's hot too.
The chosen one, ladies and gentlemen. Look, a little mutual attraction isn't inherently a bad thing, but so far there isn't a whole lot about Mark that makes me not want to punch him in the face. He instantly hires a woman based on her looks, and that makes me wonder if these previous applicants were unqualified or just not worth his time to sexually harass.
This issue's On the Street features a family fighting LA traffic to get their daughter to a hospital, only for a blinding light to seemingly cure what ails her.
Well, it's not working for me. The pains are still there.
In the inner city, some guys are shaking down a drug dealer, threatening to shoot him, until a light makes them change their ways. There's a high-speed chase on the freeway with the offending driver about to hit a movie shoot and a bunch of kids leaving a mission school gym. Wow, that's some classic schmaltzy danger right there. But an unseen force directs the car right into a tree. I don't know what you did, but that creep will never run down anyone again.
Did the light just kill that driver? I mean, it stopped those violent men before they could kill someone, so why not just calm the driver down to give up to the police? Or does the magical light take a different approach to drug peddling than it does reckless driving?
At the Church of Eternal Empowerment, Reverend Dark is doing his thing when Demon Gitez busts open the roof, meaning this is all taking place as Wonder Woman arrives. Some of his followers are bathed in the light and decide Dark isn't worth listening to, but he's confident darkness shall yet prevail and tells them to all go home. The light also shines on a troubled woman who decides to take a nap on the Hollywood H. When she wakes up, she decides to go home wondering what that light was that seems to have made her rethink things. We go to a museum where curator Diana Prince receives a box from Kuzco, though no call or note from Steve Trevor. She and her assistant Carter open the package to find the final and most powerful relics, shaped like a Hawk Man and Hawk Woman. Diana makes a call to have their security team in Peru look into Steve's whereabouts. She then explains to Carter the legends that say Manco Capac imprisoned demons inside the runes, which a human could absorb by smashing. Carter asks if she believes that smashing the stones would transform them into hawk deities, something he considers superstitious nonsense. Perhaps, but I notice you're not dropping them.
I should hope not. You work in a museum. You're not supposed to break things. That was Stan Lee's Wonder Woman. The main story had a more serious tone, but not bleak and depressing like some serious stories tend to be.
There aren't a whole lot of jokes, and it's not overcome by whimsy, but it never feels like it's trying to beat you down or make you cynical. I can't pinpoint why, but it really works, and barring some dialogue that was a little convenient and exposition heavy, I thought it was very well done. Some elements were clearly there just as nods to classic Wonder Woman, like her staff turning invisible as she flew. It doesn't seem to serve much purpose besides referencing the invisible jet, and the fact that the staff turns into a bracelet seems very much like another nod. The shield had unique and interesting applications, and the idea that maybe Maria is one of many to become a sun goddess would lend itself to quite the expanded origin if this were an ongoing, or at least a limited series. On the Street was okay, though the effect the light had on people was a tad inconsistent, and it seems to set up something for future installments given those runes. The alternative cover here is nice, but I think it works better as maybe a second issue or third issue cover, whereas the one we got is clearly more a number one style.
It was enjoyable to read, even if the main villain was very much evil for evil's sake. Not the deepest of motivations, but if G1 Transformers and G.I. Joe taught us anything, it's that sometimes that can work. Next week, we look at the last member of DC's Trinity to be reimagined by the Man, as we get a different take on the Man of Steel. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.